Good green morning, everybody. The market is looking a lot better. And there are a couple of things that actually show that a reversal is possible. But there is a level, in my opinion, that we need to break. And that's what I want to take a look at. I know that the sentiment was super bearish over the last couple of months, but these are the moments actually to buy, not when everything is already up. So if you took advantage of that, then you are sitting very comfortable. Some relative safe coins are already sitting 50, 70% higher than the lows, but this is nothing yet. So I want to talk about not even the bull case scenario, but the current trend scenario and how much gains that can potentially give us. So welcome to the Fomo Factory. Like the video if you are excited, man. Subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on, and let's get right into it. Now, Bitcoin is $78,000 and $700 at the moment of recording. Fine, whenever it comes out, could be different, of course. If we look over a shorter time frame, you can see that Bitcoin is showing some real strength actually for the last 2 weeks. It has been in an uptrend. We were sitting at a small, high right here, and we just made a higher high. So the uptrend is still very much intact, and that's all beautiful. But I especially want to take a look at altcoins and the slightly longer term, aka the bigger price ranges, because in the short term, anything could happen. But what can we actually expect right here? Now, what I look at is first for Bitcoin, of course, right? If we have no clue where Bitcoin is going, then we don't know about altcoins. Now, the big resistance for Bitcoin comes in at around 92,000 However, in my opinion, 93 and above will give us the, how do you say this? The big lag that we got in this market a couple times so far, right? So we are basically in this market ranging for a while, breakout, and we have these huge lags, right? Ranging, huge lags, ranging, huge lags. And in my opinion, the next huge leg is going to come after $93,000. Why is that? One, it's where the bull market support band comes in. Two, also, if you take a look at all the big moving averages, after $88,000, we have the 20-week moving average, and that comes in at around 93. After that, there are none of these big moving averages that are like support for us anymore. Because if you apply all these moving averages, you can see on the bigger time frames, right? They're all support. They're not resistance. We're above it. Now, there is one big moving average at around 93, 94 that we have to break above. And then, in my opinion, the next big lag can happen. Now, what does that look like for altcoins? Well, altcoins are really interesting right here. If we take a look at that chart, you can see that from the latest low, the altcoin market is already up with 21%. Now, I know that a lot of people get scared during these times and they are flipping bearish. They think that you should not buy. But these low times are, of course, the time where you want to buy, not when everything is already up, right? And from this point, it looks like it's just 21%, whatever. That depends per altcoin, of course, right? There are altcoins that have completely outperformed this, and there are altcoins that have underperformed this. But if we take a look at a couple altcoins in my 2025 watch list, you can see that we have coins that we spoke about, like the relative safer coins, right? I like to play on the defense a little bit. I've been buying Ethereum, AVAX, I've been buying Prime, I've been buying Chain GPT, Render, these kind of coins, not the real risky coins. If you look at an AVAX, for example, from the latest low, it is already up with 42%, right? So if you would have gone with the FUD and just the sentiment in the market, you would have sold, shorted, not bought, whatever, right? If you counter trade the sentiment, if you feel like, hey, prices are low, people are getting scared, this is a buying opportunity, you could have bought a really relative safe coin like an AVAX and made 40%, right? An easy 40%. And why do I say easy? It's kind of what we spoke about on the channel. I don't want to say like, hey, yeah, this is what we predicted, right? Like, but the trend is very easy so far. I said that I have two big buying orders, right? This trend line and this red box. This red box is if there is a black swan or anything, right? So I keep some cash in case it happens, but the chance that it happens for me is not very likely. However, if it does happen, that's the opportunity that will change your life, right? However, if we look at the more realistic scenario, then we can see this range that the altcoin market is in right now. And that's not just started this market, that goes back to 2018, right? Since then, it has been support. We'll talk about that support and why this potential reversal could be so big. But in the meantime, I know that liking videos, it's not much of my thing as well, but consider doing that. And if you want to let me know how it's going with your portfolio so far, also let me know. I want to know how the community is doing. Anyway, been buying here. Not the exact low, but pretty freaking close to it, right? And why? Again, because that's the range. If you buy whenever we get a good capitulation event, a liquidation event, like some real wicks, right? Not every 20% dip, not every 5% dip, but the real opportunities that occur maybe once or twice a year. These are the buys. And other than that, you don't have to buy and sell crypto every day. Like you can overtrade, right? And that's a problem that I had and that a lot of other people I think have as well. Since I don't do that anymore and just look at the big ranges and make my buys, my purchases, and my taking profits, then it's a lot easier, right? So you just buy here. If it goes to the upper trend line, you sell. Buy here. We made videos on that. Like it's on the channel. Bought literally here, right? Sold literally here. Bought here. Sold literally here. Bought literally here. It's crazy, right? But it's not that hard actually, because so far that is the trend. And go with the trend, right? This trend will stop. Maybe now, maybe in a year. I don't know. But just go with it as long as that's the trend, right? So this was my purchase right here. And for a lot of coins, like I've showed, like an AVAX, the top 125, excluding top 10, that's what this is, did 20%. Fine, nothing to write your mother about, right? But if you again look at certain specific altcoins, AVAX did a 40% gain, right? This was a beautiful outperformance. Now, there are also some higher risk coins that are completely outperforming, like SPX. I bought a little bit, made a 2x on that purchase, bought it at 30 something, but it went as low as 25, right? If you bought that, 150% gain, like that's 2.5x. Now, that's a high risk meme coin, of course, right? The more realistic thing is looking at AVAXs, looking at renders. What did this do? 50% as well. Crazy, right? So now what can we potentially expect? Now, this is pretty cool in my opinion. The altcoin market did just 20%, while certain relative safe altcoins did 40, 50, 60%, right? This 3 times as much. This 20%, honestly, do you think that this is it and that the market is now going to go like this forever? It doesn't seem that likely, right? The range is intact still. And let's see how long it will take. But if we have to follow the range, then it eventually will go to the top of the range. Now, depending on when that happens, we can calculate how much gain that is, right? If that happens within now and a couple of months, that's 117%. If it's a slow grind up until the end of the year, could also happen. Then it's 150%, whatever. But again, some safe coins did 2-3x of that. So that could be 400%. Like that's a 5x. 5x, right? I'm not, and this is the fun part right here. If you feel like, oh, you're giving hopium, I don't even try, right? Because this is not the bull case scenario. This is the current situation scenario. This is not dreamy, or this is literally what's happening right now, right? That's the range. This is the range. And if we just continue with the range, then we can see certain altcoins doing these kind of numbers, right? Render, complete outperformer, AVAX, Beam, right? Beam did a 70-80%, right? So if we get to this range, which is 150%, and Beam again does 3 times as much, that's 450%, right? That could take Beam around this price right here, right? Like that's a that's not even from this point, right? But that's way higher even. But that's another 4-5x for Beam. Now, again, that's not the alt season scenario or whatever, right? Why not? Because these moves in this range so far have happened during QT, during non-alt season. Altcoins got slapped down on their Bitcoin pair, basically. If you overlay alt season, to put it like that, you can see that these moves happened during the fact that altcoins on the Bitcoin pair went down. And the big moves on altcoins happened during a small dead cat bounce for the alt season chart. That was it. It was nothing like an alt season. It was a dead cat bounce. That's it. Now here comes the fun part. Why should we this time go to the top of this range? Well, once again, we could have another dead cat bounce. And another dead cat bounce, we said it earlier on the channel, could make altcoins do a 5x. We want alt season. We expect alt season, at least I, right? And I think a lot of y'all as well. But we don't need it unless you need a 50x on your portfolio, but then maybe adjust your goals. But we do not need it. Again, you can make a 5x or more on pretty decent altcoins while there is absolutely no sign of an alt season or whatsoever. So we got that locked in, right? But now comes the more realistic scenario. Because I don't think that never getting an alt season, whether how big it is likely, right? I think we will get a moment where altcoins will actually perform. I also don't think that for the altcoin market going to 500-600 billion is the top, right? That's not realistic in any way. I think we should not aim too high, right? But aiming too low could be just as unrealistic. Now, what backs that up? Well, first the seasonality of the crypto market, basically. Altcoins tend to completely go crazy in the post-halving year, especially the second part of it. Also, if we take a look at how the returns are cycle to cycle, right? We can see that, I don't know what the all-time high was over here, but this was a huge gain, right? Here we had a gain from top to top of around 560%. But going from this top to around 500 billion, 600 billion is 10, 12%, right? That's barely an all-time high, right? Doesn't make sense as well. Plus, we spoke about it more, but we have the fat balance sheet, of course. Now, the cool thing is, if we take a look at altcoins on their Bitcoin pair, so far they are respecting this trend line, right? And we are sitting here very nicely, like here, and now again. You could say we wick below it. I don't care if we wick below it. The interesting thing comes for me right now. We have the seasonality where, so this is the alt season chart basically, right? We have the seasonality where altcoins go up really hard in the post-halving year, right? Here also, really hard in the post-halving year. We don't have to go up that hard this year. We want to stay a little cautious with our expectation, although it's nothing weird to think, 2 out of 2, right? Why not number 3? But we don't have to expect that we're going completely crazy, but something, right? It's also really unrealistic to expect that this is now going down forever, right? That's not how crypto works. Now, the cool thing is this: the bull market support band is going down pretty hard. We're going to meet up soon, but we're also at this trend line. This trend line, these are the bulls. This bull market support band is the bears. The bulls and the bears are going to meet up somewhere in May. Now, cycle-wise, I would say bulls going to win, right? Cycle-wise, it makes sense. If it was like 2024, then I would say, okay, bears got this. Cycle-wise, time-wise in the market, I don't see a huge breakdown. Apart from that, there's also a big narrative. And the narrative kind of confirms it all for me. The narrative is the balance sheet of the Fed, right? So we spoke about this many, many more times often and or more often and more channels did. But if you overlay the Fed balance sheet, you can see every single time we're in QT, so they're reducing the balance sheet, alt season is out of the window, right? Every single time. Here, down, alt season stopped. Down, alt season stopped. But when it's not going down, we basically always have alt season, right? It's going sideways, we had a huge alt season. Here it was going up, QE, we had an alt season. Now, the Fed just announced that they are slowing down QT. So that's already a step in the right direction, and it's going to happen from coming month, right? However, they also hinted that QT is maybe going to stop somewhere halfway this year. So let's say June. If they do that, will they also announce it 1 month before that? So May, right? Because now we also got the announcement in March that they're going to slow down QT starting from April. So if it's going to stop in June and they are announcing it in May, guess what? That's what this moment of truth is. And that's the narrative to make it go up. I want to look at the reasons why it could go down as well. I don't want to be a perma bull or whatever. However, being bullish in a bull market seems like the most obvious thing. And I sometimes get a comment like, this is not a bull market. For your portfolio, it isn't. Not my bad. But I want to look for reasons why it can go down. What's the reason why it can go down? Black swans could happen. It's always a possibility. The Fed could announce that we will get all of a sudden a very hard QT again. But that doesn't seem likely. Otherwise, they would not already slow it down, right? Slowing down is a step towards stopping, not towards bumping it up. So narrative-wise, I am having some trouble to find a reason, actually. So I expect a breakout right here. And that would make everything make sense again. That would make, like, we talked about this for so long, like this is the likely outcome. I expected it a little sooner though. But still, the outcome is up. And that would glue it all together, basically. Now, again, that would line up with the fact that altcoins on the dollar pair are also going up. Unless Bitcoin is going down really hard, right? But Bitcoin going down really hard in a post-halving year is not typical, right? Of course, we have moments here it went down really hard. But before the post-halving year ended, we had a new all-time high, right? So yeah, I mean, dips and corrections and crashes, whatever could happen. Let's take a look at the total picture, right? So likely altcoins, if this plays out like this, right? are likely to go up really hard on the dollar pair. Now, again, back to altcoins on the dollar pair. Does that make sense? Well, I mean, if we look at this trend, the chart has already made the setup, right? It's already like up, down, up, down, up. It kind of comes together, and it's super logical for me to understand, like, okay, this could be it. And the people may ask, like, where's the money coming from? Well, first, the money is already here, kind of, right? Because we have a lot of money in the market, sitting in the market already. Whether it's in Bitcoin, you could take money from Solana, you could take money from stable coins. It's everywhere, right? But not mostly in the lower cap altcoins. And that's where it could flow. So the money is already there. Second, there's something called a money printer, and the Fed kind of likes to use it. Right? So if you ever ask, like, you should never ask, like, where's the money coming from, right? Because money gets literally printed out of thin air. So that's never a problem, right? So it all kind of lines up for me. Am I saying, like, hey, we will only go up from now on? No, we can have a very bad week still, right? Could happen. Fun fact, though, what stands out to me is that if you zoom in on the altcoin market, look at this. Now, this is calling something way too soon. So forgive me for that. But, you know, I just noticed. So for the first time this year, right, this whole year, we have three green weeks in a row right now. Now, again, like I said, it's calling way too soon because it's now still Monday morning for me, right? So we have still like a whole week to go. This could easily turn out to be red later, right? But let's assume it stays green just for fun, right? Then we will have 3 weekly green closures for the first time in this whole year. Last time we had that was basically in that huge fucking pump that we had during November, December, where altcoins were printing, right? And then we started the reversal at the top of this trend line, of course. Now, it's funny that at the bottom of this trend line, it looks like we are starting the reversal to the upside. I think that another narrative for this to all to happen is that bears also look at this and be like, they might be like, it might go up and it might not be wise to be bearish here. Fuck it, let me buy back at a loss, but whatever, right? And that causes that whole domino effect. And that will go, that will make the USDT dominance go down. Pretty funny, however, I haven't checked it, but chart-wise, that would completely make sense as you see that the USDT dominance is in a downtrend, right? You can say whatever you want, whether you're bullish, bearish, sealish, I don't know what kind of animal you are, but it's a fact that the USDT dominance is in a downtrend, right? So, of course, people were taking profits right here. The market went to shit, but then people deployed back into the markets and the USDT dominance went down and the market ran really high. Then people took profits again. The market went to shit. Basically, at this trend line again, at this whole area of like multi-year resistance. And now they're deploying again. I think a very exciting time is coming, and that will take a couple months probably to play out. But it's kind of a battle between this upper trend line right here and this diagonal as well, and this green support right here, right? This is a huge level. So if overall this is the range and we have a fat bear right here, right, which we came out of 2 years ago, and we go back into the range, then the fat bull is when we break down of this trend right here. So let's see which, I mean, it won't range forever. And the bears obviously lost their moment. Now, again, I had some people on the channel that are bearish, and I get that going with the sentiment is very tempting. You have to realize, though, you could have been the one that said, like, I'm not gonna buy, I'm even gonna short or sell or whatever. You could have done that. Your short would have not done well. If you sold, then you can now buy back twice as high. And if you didn't buy, then you missed out on some coins like a 50 up to 100% move. Right? So even if you are bearish, uh, you could say like, yeah, well, look what we had right here, right? Like it was good to be bearish. Most people were not bearish from here. They started to become bearish here, right? And now they missed out on a pretty huge move, right? So and for a lot of coins, it is obvious as fuck, right? We spoke about it. Like, look, in AVAX, look at these support levels, right? This is not I'm not looking at my charts on a 4-hour time frame and be like, oh, buy or sell, whatever. I look at the very big time frame, and therefore my content might not be that interesting for people because my predictions or expectations don't play out the next day. It takes weeks or months, right? But now we got there, right? We got there. We got there once again at such a level. Because it is a longer time frame, the moves are way higher as well. We're not talking about an hour or 4-hour time frame with a 5 or 8% play to the up or the downside. We're talking about multi-weeks and months, but with hundreds of percentages, right? AVAX got wrecked, but it's sitting at support. The last time it was there was in the bear market, right? And from that point, for such a safe coin, it did a 4.5x. And we just got there. We just got out of there, right? Let's see how this is going to play out. And to be honest, yeah, AVAX, we have high, we have a lower high, we have a low, we have a lower low. A bearish pattern, definitely bearish pattern. But even if the market is for some reason never gonna reverse, right? Like for some reason crypto is down only from now. I don't know why that should be, but and we make a lower high, you can still make like a 3x with a safe coin during a non-alt season, right? So even if you are bearish, you should be wise enough to know when you should be bullish, right? And it looks to me like the coming months, that's gonna be it. Really, it's gonna be it. And I don't see a lot of bearish things actually, right? Whether and again, if we are down tomorrow with 20%, you could be like, again, I'm looking at weekly charts. I don't give a fuck what happens tomorrow, right? This is a long play, and we just got out with a lot of coins on I don't want to say a lifetime opportunity, but an opportunity that you maybe get once a year, something like that. That's kind of it, right? If you look at the altcoin market, this trend line, we hit it twice before, once in 2023, once in 2024. We now got there in 2025. There's a pretty realistic chance that we don't get here again this year, right? And buying here was the most obvious thing ever, right? And the most best thing ever as well. Last thing about this trend line, what's also really, really cool about this goes back a long time, right? Every single time we got here, what was the result? Here we got a move of 330%. Here we got there again. We got a move of 130%. Here we got there again. We got a move of 370%. Last time we got there, this market, similar conditions, nothing crazy. We got a move of 200%. We just got there again. I don't know from the top of my head what the average is, but the lowest was 130 and the highest was 300. So let's say 250 average, right? 250 on average. Fat new all-time high. If we do what we do on average, not even better, not even something like these 300 percentages, just somewhat average, I think. easy new all-time high. If we do what we did in the last since 2008, 7 years, if we have the smallest move that we had since the last 7 years, which is 130%, we are pretty much at between cycle high and all-time high. So even if this plays out the most worst way it so far always has played out, you will print a lot of fucking money if you took opportunities here. Again, it's not that you missed out if you haven't bought there, so don't feel that bad. The real opportunity, that was a couple weeks ago. We might get there again, we might not, I don't know. But it's not that we now look at this and be like, oh my God, I missed out. Dude, you missed out, look where we are, right? And where we can potentially go, right? And again, this is my... I didn't discuss any form of alt season in this video or whatever. This is my non-alt season target, right? If we get an alt season, which I think is very likely, then this is like, we can see more than this. Now, to wrap it up, the end of QT will, of course, give us more than a dead cat bounce, what we have seen this cycle so far during QT. Now, again, this is what happened. These were the dead cat bounce during QT, right? Like, yeah, this from bear market lows. We're not there right now. So, but 400 from the bottom to that top, right? Here we had 200%. This was all during much more terrible market conditions in the macro, coming from the Fed with their balance sheet, everything. If QT will end, and I'm not even talking about start of QE. If QE starts, I don't know, and I don't think so. But if that starts, then we'll talk about numbers by then. But then, right? But even if QT ends, which kind of already is pretty much announced, then I think this trend line will easily be broken, and we can talk about trillions for the altcoin market instead of billions. I think we will hit that trillion pretty easily, actually. So that's it for today. I hope it was helpful. I hope it gives you a little perspective on, at least how I think that the market is looking right now. My hairline is coming back. Beautiful. Cost me some money, but then you at least are not that ugly anymore, right? And now let me make that money back, because this whole crypto market was also the reason in the first place why I lost it. So let's get it. I'm super excited, guys. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, subscribe if you are new. Check out the WAP link down below if you want to have some one-on-one calls or chats with me about your portfolio, your approach, or want to look at my portfolio, exclusive videos, etc. And I'll see you guys very soon.